And you're going to see that the Lord is with us, the brothers that's doing this thing, and all the other brothers out there that's doing the same thing, starting with the elder brothers, Elder Tahar, Elder Gabar, Elder Rakah, and all the rest of the brothers that's out there doing this work in sincerity and truth. That's teaching the same thing that we're teaching. You're going to see the Lord with them, because why? You're going to see all the tribes coming together.
That's right.
All right, but you know, it's a lot more on that, but I know you got some points on that, so
we could always
we can go because brothers,
I got some.
It's a lot of meat.
I got something to mess with you when you're ready to.
Yeah, come.
Well, this is dealing with about the perception of the Spaniards. The perception of the Spaniards had about the Native American Indians, Peruvian, and the Mexican Indians, and the misconceptions. Now, James Adair speaks about it on page 222. It says, if any English reader have patience to search the extraordinary volumes of the Spanish writers, or even those of His Catholic Majesty Chief.
Hey, I'm sorry, brother. And the key word there, it says to have patience. Now, I ain't got the patience as this brother got. This brother got, the Lord blessed him with that. That's a gift. And when the scriptures speak about gifts, this brother got, I mean, you know, we all got patience because the Spirit has us where we do research, but this brother, the Spirit get it to where he'll go into some books that we didn't even know about. And he'll sit there and sift through the bones and pull that motherfucking meat right off of it, man.
That's right.
But now the problem is with you guys, you don't have that patience.
Right.
And that's why it's easy to just say, oh, it's a black thing.
Yeah.
It's easy to, cause, you know, you guys don't want to use your brain cells, man.
You want the fucking easy way out, man. That's a typical fucking nigga.
Yeah.
And always want the easy fucking way out.
No, brother.
That's a typical fucking nigga.
It's a spirit.
You know? Want the easy way out. A lazy fucking nigga.
Yep.
That's what that is, a lazy ass nigga.
That's a nigga.
It says, if any English reader have patience to search the extraordinary volumes of the Spanish writers, or even those of His Catholic Majesty Chief Historiographer, he would not only find a wild portrait, but a striking resemblance and unity of the civil and martial customs, the religious rites and traditions of the ancient Peruvians and Mexicans and North Americans. According to the manner of their Moorish paintings, likewise, the very national name of the primitive Chickasaw, which they style Chichamicas. That's how the Mexicans say Chickasaw. They say Chichamicas. It says, in whom they repute to have been the first inhabitants of Mexico. However, I lay little stress upon Spanish testimonies, for time and ocular proof have convinced us of the labored falsehood of most of their historical narrations concerning every curious thing relative to South America. Boom. So James Adair says you can't trust the shit that the Spaniards are saying.
Right.
That's what he's saying right there.
Yeah, because the Spaniards' whole purpose to come into the so-called New World was to destroy the people that were here.
Exactly.
And exonerate. You know, I'm not exonerating, but basically to take the records that they have and destroy them, so that they can seem like they're just savages. You know, they had no records, they had nothing, no written history. You know, they didn't do any great works. You know, so that's what they wanted to destroy the records so that they could be justified. You know, by taking their land. And that was the main thing, because they already had dibs on this side of the world.
That's right.
Before Columbus and all of them came over here.
Yeah, they divided it and cut the pie up while they was there in Spain before they got here. They sliced the pie up and said, you're going to get this, you're going to get that.
Yep.
And they already knew who was over here. And it's, as we read further in, it's gonna go more into what this brother Elder Ramlab is talking about.
Okay.
It says they were so divested of those principles inherent to honest inquirers after truth, that they have recorded themselves to be a tribe of prejudiced bigots, striving to aggrandize the Mohammedan valor of about 900 spurious Catholic Christians. In other words, they set out to set prejudices about the Native American Indians and the Peruvian Indians and the Mexican Indians amongst the Catholics, the so-called Catholics, to already have that inbred hatred for them before they even met them. That's what that's dealing with. Then it says, under the patronage of their favorite saint, a person by whom heaven designed to extirpate those two great nominal empires of pretended cannibals. So they lied and said that they were cannibals.
Yeah, they said the Carib Indians were cannibals. Yeah. fucking lying sack of dog
They even
shit.
said that about the Mexicans, that they were cannibals. And that's nothing but a fucking lie. It says they found it convenient to blacken the natives with ill names and report them to their demigod, the Mufti of Rome, as sacrificing every day a prodigious multitude of human victims to numerous idol gods. They learned worldly is already fully acquainted with the falsehood of their histories. The learned world is already acquainted with the falsehood of the falsehoods of the Spaniards, of the accounts that the Spaniards gave.
Right, and then he said they blacken their faces. In other words, they put a bad name on them.
Exactly.
I got a quick precept just to back that up.
Yep.
This is Deuteronomy 28 and 37. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb and a byword among all nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee. So basically, what the brothers read now is letting you know that that curse was on who? On Israel.
Yep.
So it was on them. They blackened their names. They, basically they went around and slandered them.
Exactly.
Go
They
ahead.
straight up fucking lied. It says, the learned world is already fully acquainted with the falsehood of their histories. This is page 223 in James Adair's book, History of the American Indian. Reason and later discoveries condemn them. Many years have elapsed since I first entered into Indian life, that's James Adair speaking, besides a good acquaintance with several southern Indians who were conversant with the Mexican Indian rites and customs, and it is incontrovertible that the Spanish monks and Jesuits, in describing the language, religion, and customs of the ancient Peruvians and Mexicans, were both unwilling and incapable to perform so arduous an undertaking with justice and truth. They did not converse with the natives as friends, but despised, hated, and murdered them for the sake of their gold and silver, and to excuse their own ignorance and most shocking, cool, premeditated murders. They artfully described them as an abominable swarm of idolatrous cannibals offering human sacrifices to various false deities and eating of unnatural victims. Nevertheless, from their own partial accounts, we can trace a near agreement between the civil and martial customs, the religious worship, traditions, dress, ornaments, and other particulars of the ancient Peruvians and Mexicans and those of the present North American Indians. That's one point.
Oh man. Hey, now read this real quick, brother.
Right ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is it's a site. It's a site it's called Hope of Israel, right? Basically the saga of ancient Hebrew explorers. Now they have a segment called Hebrews in the America. They asking the question.
Right.
Hebrews in America,
The
1000
Hope of
BC.
Israel, that book is by Manasseh ben Israel.
Right, by Manasseh. Right, Khan.
Yep.
So it says, in 1973, I visited with Dr. Joseph Mahan in Georgia, an expert in ancient Indian ethnology of the southeastern Indians of the United States. He showed me samples of pottery uncovered from the waters around the Bahamas, and told me of Indian legends, including that of the Yukis, which is one of them Peruvian tribes, right? So stating they had migrated to the area of Florida and Georgia from the region of the Bahamas, according to their legends. The islands sank beneath the sea, and they fled for their lives. These same Yukis later migrated to the Oklahoma Territory, where they eventually settled down. Amazingly enough, they show strong evidence that they had contact with the old world in historic times. They have a custom which is unique among the American Indians. They are racially and linguistically different from their neighbors, which they go off a bit there.
Yeah. Because each tribe they had like a dialect, but they all spoke Hebrew.
They had their own slang amongst each other when they spoke Hebrew.
Which goes back to the scriptures,
That's right.
as we brought out in the other show.
Just like Judah, Benjamin, and Levi right now. Benjamin speak English, but Benjamin got crazy ass English. They speak it like with that patois and proper English, like joined together.
Yep.
And then Jake slang in the 70s they called it jive, but
Right.
we call it slang, hip talk, jive, whatever. Then Ephraim got it, the way they speak, they call it Spanglish.
Yep.
Which is fucking English and Spanish.
Mixed
and they'll
together.
say something mixed together and you won't know what the fuck they talking about.
Yep.
And sometimes, even with the so-called West Indians, even amongst them, they got a different slang.
Yep. Because the
From
Trinis
different-
is different
you know?
from the Jamaicans, is different from
But
the
they're
Barbadians.
the same. But they're the same tribe.
Exactly.
Same thing with the Latin tribe. Same thing like with Jake. Jake up north talk different. Sometimes a so-called Negro up north, you can't understand a Negro from down south.
That's right.
And they both speak in English, but it's with a different dialect. So that's the same thing that was with the tribes, like the brother was saying. So now it says, it says, going back to these Indians, these Peruvian Indians, it says they have a custom which is unique among the American Indians. It says every year on the 15th day of the sacred month of harvest in the fall, they make a pilgrimage. For 8 days they live in booths with roofs open to the sky.
That's the Feast of Tabernacles.
Come on, man.
Sukkah.
Where'd they get that from?
You know?
Because they're Israelites. We told you already they brought the records here, but the damn Spaniards burnt the records.
Yep.
You know, they had the Torah here and the Tanakh and all them books. They had them here. But what happened was the so-called white men burned them. The Edomites burned them when they came over here.
Out of fucking jealousy.
Yeah.
And just so they could steal their land.
Yep. So they can justify themselves with that manifest destiny bullshit.
Yeah.
And taking them over.
I got something real quick right here. This is Romans 2:14. For when the Gentiles, meaning the Israelite foreigners, which have not the law, do by nature the things contained in the law, these having not the law are a law unto themselves. Why? Because that law was and custom was already embedded in them.
Yep.
That's why they kept they kept the Feast of Tabernacles. You know, so they didn't eat swine. You know, they circumcised their children. They did certain customs that the Israelites did. They wore the borders of blue, the fringes and the borders of blue, and different other customs that they did.
Issachar, the so-called Mexicans, they're known for what? They're unleavened bread.
Yep.
That's in their spirit. And they masters at that thing, man. The tortillas and stuff that you love.
That's right.
That's unleavened bread. You know, you only hear about Hamites making unleavened bread.
That's right.
That's what they go.
Doodoo.
You know, but it's a lot more information there. But you know, the brother brought that point out, so I was you know, connecting, added. Yeah. But it's a lot. Like I said, it's so much information and it's so vast.
Yep.
Where that's how we know that we at the end, man.
Yep.
You know, so you brothers
can't even keep up with it. I mean, if we was to bring out all the information, we'll be this will be like a 20-hour show. Or we'll be here all day, all night.
Yep.
You know, so we just try to get the most pertinent points. You know, and then when you brothers get the information, you go and you read it up, and then you might find other things.
Yeah, done.
You know.
Done.
I got some more for you. Okay, page 226. It says here, although this legendary writer has transcended the bounds of truth, in other words, just lied. In other words, he just sensationalized and lied about the shit. The writer is talking about is a man named David Ingram, who's he's another historian with an account about the Indians, Native American Indians, Peruvian, Mexican Indians. It says, yet where he is not emulous of outdoing the Jesuitical romances, because this guy was damn near outdoing the lies that the Jesuits wrote. That's what he's talking about. He says Jesuitical romances. The romance, in other words, that the Jesuits had with demonizing and making the Indians look like monsters.
Right.
That's what it's talking about. It would require a good knowledge of America to confute him in many particulars. It says, this shows how little the learned world can rely on American narrators, and that the origin of the Indian Americans is yet to be traced.
Right. I'm sorry, because the Esau's gonna be biased when he writes his stuff.
Of course.
He's the devil. He's the devil. He can't let you know that these people that he calls savages are really royal, holy people. That's greater than himself. So you do got to be careful when you're reading stuff that these crackers write, man.
That's right. Yeah, because the bottom line is, how are they going to be able to lie to the world and tell the world that they're Jews if there's all kind of evidence that these people that were here are Israelites?
Right.
How are they going to do that? That's why they suppressed records on Judah, Benjamin, Levi, you know, the so-called Negroes, West Indians, Haitians, you know, so that people wouldn't wake up to them, because they won't be able to lie to the world if everybody knows the truth of who the tribes are.
It says American narrators, and that the origin of the Indian Americans is yet to be traced in a quite different path to what any of those hyperbolical or wild conjecture writers have prescribed. In other words, the real history of the American and South American Indians is totally different from what a lot of these American writers and different people have actually said about them.
Right.
It's in another direction. It says the Spaniards have given us many fine polished Indian orations, but they were certainly fabricated at Madrid.